want to set up the Windows 10 management workstation to manage our core servers with. And in this case, I want to say yes. Okay, so here we are on a default installation of Windows 10. This is the Windows 10 management workstation to control our core servers. And I haven't downloaded anything yet or installed any software. It's just a default install. The only change I made, I've added a few shortcuts to things I use frequently. And you can just search for those and open file location, and you can add shortcuts and so forth. I added 2 for PowerShell, and if you don't see those, again, just use the Windows search feature and you can find PowerShell and PowerShell ICE. I use ICE, the integrated scripting environment, just because it's got a lot more bells and whistles. It's color-coded, debugger, IntelliSense autocomplete, just a lot of cool stuff that you get in addition to just a normal PowerShell console. So it's up to you, but either way you'll want to run these in administrative mode. So you'll want to right click and say run as administrator. When you set up remote management rights and connect to your core servers. So we need to download a couple of pieces of software. We have to install, we want to upgrade PowerShell on our core server. So we need to download the MSI for that. And then to get that onto our core server, we're going to have to use PowerShell on our Windows 10 management workstation, okay? And also we want to download the Windows Admin Center, okay? So if you just Google for those, first thing I'll do is grab the Admin Center, and I just Googled Windows Admin Center to grab the latest and the greatest. And it's a tool that it's in development. They're constantly adding things to it and making changes, but Alright, so that gives me the Windows Administration Center. And the next thing I want to do, I want to grab PowerShell. And I just look for the latest stable release. Looks like version 7.03, but your mileage may vary. By the time you set up your core servers, might be something totally different there. And you want to pick the right MSI for the right architecture. So for me, I'm looking for a 64-bit Windows. Looks like here's what I want right here. And I'm gonna go ahead and download that. Looks like it's approximately 90 megabytes. Alright, so 2 MSI files. Now this one is for the core server, and this one is for the workstation, the Windows 10 management workstation itself. I'm going to go ahead and install Windows Admin Center. And later, once we get Active Directory set up, we'll install RSAT tools on this workstation as well. That's just what we need to manage Active Directory. And I'm just going to say, accept these terms. Next. Yeah. Go ahead and set it to use MS Update. Check for updates. Allow Windows Admin Center to monitor this machine's trusted host settings. Sure. Just go with the defaults. And if we had set up the GUI version of 2019 server, then we could just RDP in and manage those boxes that way. But if we're going to go the core route, then Windows Admin Center is almost a necessary tool. I mean, I guess you could get by without it, but it's a lot more convenient trying to manage core servers when you have a remote management tool like Windows Admin Center. And the first time you open Windows Admin Center, you'll have to select a certificate. Be sure to select Windows Admin Center Client. Okay, so it's nice that they added that little warning message there. All right, that's installed. So I want to copy that file over, right? In this case, the PowerShell 7 file to my core server. So to do that on my management workstation in Windows 10, I need to run PowerShell in administrative mode. So I'm just going to run ICE as administrator. And the command I need to use, you can call it variable anything you want. I'll call it session. And I need to create a new New-PSSession for PowerShell session, and ComputerName is going to be the IP of my server. Let me hop over to my server real quick and get its IP. Okay, so IP config all and pipe it to more, in case it's more output than we can handle. 192.168.70.15. Alright, so that's what I want to connect to with credentials. And the credential I want to use, in this case, see who I am, administrator, and if I type in who am I, so T3000 DC1, that's the host name of the computer, and administrator. So that's who I want to be, or that's who I want to try to authenticate as, okay, in this remote session. All right, now back to the Windows 10 workstation. 192.168.70.15. And let's see, call credential, and then in parentheses it's a parenthetical get credential. Okay, and let's see, I may have to include the host name and the administrator account, but the first time through I'm going to try it with just administrator and the password, and then if not, I'll supply the host name as well. So administrator, make sure I spell that right, and okay, and see, now I've created a remote session to my core server. And so now what I want to do is I want to copy stuff to my core server. And to do that, I'm just going to go into the directory that I downloaded things to. So I'm going to change directory, dir. Remember, I saved it to software. All right, so I'm in software. And what is it that I want to send over there? It's the PowerShell -7.0.3-win-x64.msa. They never do a short file name, do they? All right, so what I want to do is I'm going to comment this out, and I want to use the copy command. So I'm going to say copy item, and in this case, my directory is C software, and let's see. Power. Let's try to wildcard this because I do not want to type all that out. All right, and then I want to copy to the root. Easiest thing to do would be to copy it to the root folder, right? As far as my destination there. So root, and then let's see. We'll try wildcarding it, and then let's just do to session and session. All right, so the session variable that we had there. Okay, so let's try running this to copy PowerShell. Hopefully I can wildcard it. If not, I guess I'll have to type it all out. Yay! It looks like I can wildcard it. It saved me some typing. And you can see the progress. It's copying the file over to our core server. Okay, so with that done, now we need to jump on over to our core server because we want to install it. And we're back on our Windows core server now, right? So T3000 DC1, and I just want to go to my root directory, and remember I copied that file to my root directory. So PowerShell 7031x64 MSI, and I just want to run that file. Okay. And so I'm going to go ahead and just walk through the installation process. Next, PowerShell. Next, add PowerShell to path environment. Yes. Register Windows. Yes. Just go with the defaults there. And then I'm going to select finish. Okay. And I'm just going to open up the Windows Admin Center, and I want to add my new server. So I'm going to click add under servers. And the server name, T3000 DC1. And credentials needed, use a randomized password. I'm just going to say add. And I'm going to select this server and use another account for this connection. And administrator. Okay, and then the password. Say never. Less convenient but more secure. And Windows Admin Center is going to slowly load all the remote management bits and pieces. Okay, and if we take a look, so here's just some of the computer information and performance. And now I'm going to open up Windows Admin Center, and we're going to go through some of the features and functionality. And if you're going to do core server, this is probably an indispensable tool, along with RSAT tools, I guess, if you set up Active Directory, and we're going to set up AD later. Probably make that a separate video, because this one's going to be long as it is. Okay, so in this case we have our 2 core servers. I'm going to go look at DC1. And connecting to 23000 DC1. Okay, and notice it just gives us an overview of the server at first. But one of the things I want to do, I'm going to skip around a little bit, and then we'll go through all the features. But I'm just going to set up local users and groups. I'm going to access on my core server, DC1. And I'm going to go to groups. And I'm going to go to remote desktop users. And I'm going to add administrator of that core server. And I'm going to add, remember the account we created called backdoor. Alright, backdoor, and I'm just going to add Carlisa Lally. Alright, so with those users, what I wanted to show you, 2 things right off the bat that's so cool about Windows Admin Center. I just wanted to add myself into remote desktop users group on DC1. So notice that I have remote desktop access to DC1. And the coolest thing about this tool is the way it centralizes everything into like one complete administrative tool. It really is comprehensive. I could access anything that I could normally access with the GUI on a graphical 2019 installation, but in this case I'm accessing a core server, and all of the resources for the graphical interface are on my Windows 10 workstation instead of on my 2019 servers, which is where they should be. Why should a server waste its resources, producing graphical output or running graphical apps and things? That's the work of a client. I guess you could argue that's the work of a client operating system. So one of the benefits of setting up a core server and then remotely managing it, of course the primary benefit is it decreases the attack surface, so it's a lot more secure. It's a lot more simple, updates aren't as big, and things just run smoother. They require less resources, less memory, less CPU cycles, because it only has to worry about serving out services. It doesn't have to worry about providing a rich graphical environment. That's the job of a client like Windows 10, you could argue. Anyway, before it times out, if it hasn't already, because I talk so much. So administrator password, and I want to put the host name of the machine. So T3000 DC1. And specify that administrative account. And again, so if I send Control Alt Delete, in this case I'm signed into my core server. See? Pretty cool, huh? So right off the bat, I have remote desktop. I also have a remote PowerShell session. And this is part of that functionality that we enabled on the core server itself, right? We wanted to enable remote PowerShelling. So here I am. I have a remote shell to the server. and boom. I'm into PowerShell on my core server. Pretty cool, huh? Yeah. All right. So in addition to that, you have a lot of Azure things here, but I just set this up. I haven't even activated these VMs yet, so I don't can't really go over that. Don't have a need for that, but I can look at my certificate store. Okay. I can look at devices. I can look at my logs. All right. Basically, I'm remotely accessing event viewer content from Windows Event Center on my DC1, T3000 DC1 core server. Okay. So like security logs. See? And full log access. I can access the file system. Now I don't have to do it through a PowerShell session. I mean, I still could if I wanted to, but now I have a graphical means of copying and cutting and pasting files and things, just as if I had a local file explorer. If the GUI were installed on the server, but it's not. It's core server, but through my Windows 10 management workstation, I have access to the, graphical access to the file system. All right, over here. So here's all my files and things. Okay. Firewall. All right. Remember how we disabled that via the command shell on the core server, but I can manage it remotely now if I want to. Even my NIC interface. We already looked at local users and groups. If I wanted to create users or groups or modify group membership, but I'll bring that back up again. Okay. There's all my accounts and backdoor and Carly Salali. I can access my network interface settings. Although be careful with this one. Remember, you're remotely managing your PowerShell server. So if you misconfigure your network settings or change an IP or something, you're going to lose connectivity. You can lose connectivity to your server. So that's something that you might want to actually sign into your core server to make settings changes here, but that's up to you. Performance monitor, we went over PowerShell processes, remote registry access. We went over remote desktop roles and features. So in the next video we do, where we set up Active Directory on our core servers, and then after that we're also going to do like Exchange 2019 server with our core servers. But here's where we could access those roles and features, right? So in this case, Active Directory, roles and features and services that we want to install. Scheduled tasks, storage on my local machine, Windows updates. We already updated it using the sconfig tool on the core server itself, but if I wanted to, I could access Windows update data. Okay, so there's an update. And I'll just go back to roles and features. And this is the one we want. The Active Directory domain services. So when we set up Active Directory, we'll be using that one. But at this point, I'm going to put all this into one video, setting up these two 2019 core servers and the Windows 10 management workstation. In the next video, we'll look at setting up Active Directory, joining the workstation to the domain, and installing RSAT tools on our management workstation so we can get all those cool Active Directory tools, but on our Windows 10 workstation instead of the server GUI.